Donald Trump, you know him, you either love him or you love to hate him. Well, he had some interesting things to say about Africa. He didn't mince his words. He basically said, Africa, brew, you gotta fix your own problems. He wasn't shy about it. He pointed fingers at African leaders, called them out for corruption, and basically said, you're sitting on a gold mine, but your people are living in poverty. What's going on? Trump's message landed like a hot pap on a cold day. Some people were like, finally someone said it. Others were like, easy for you to say, Mr. Rich Guy. It was a real mixed bag of reactions. But one thing's for sure, Trump's words got people talking. Now, I'm not saying I agree with everything Trump says. He's got his own way of seeing things, but I gotta admit, some of his points about Africa kind of resonated with me. We've got a lot of potential on this continent, but sometimes it feels like we're stuck in a rut. So, buckle up because we're about to unpack Trump's message to Africa. Look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. Get ready for a wild ride. Trump's a big believer in this whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing. He looks at America, China, all these big players on the world stage, and he says, they did it. Why can't Africa? And you know what? He's not entirely wrong. These countries, they became powerhouses because they built themselves up. They invested in their people, in their industries, and they didn't rely on handouts. They had this hunger, this drive to succeed, and they made it happen. But let's be real here, it's not that simple for Africa. We've got a history, a legacy of colonialism and exploitation that's left its mark. It's like we're starting a race, but we're already a few laps behind. We've got challenges, from corruption to lack of infrastructure, that other countries didn't have to deal with. But that being said, does it mean we can't learn from their successes? Can't we try to emulate their work ethic, their determination to overcome obstacles? I think we can. Now, here's where Trump really went in. He didn't hold back on his criticism of African leaders, and honestly, some of it was hard to argue with. He pointed to the fancy cars, the lavish lifestyles of some leaders, while their people struggle to put food on the table. He talked about hospitals without medicine, schools without proper resources, roads riddled with potholes. And he asked, where's all the money going? It's a question many Africans have been asking for a long time. Look, I'm not saying all African leaders are corrupt. There are some good ones out there trying to make a difference. But there's no denying that corruption is a cancer eating away at our continent. It's holding us back, preventing us from reaching our full potential. Trump's words were harsh, but sometimes you need a wake-up call, a dose of tough love to shake things up. Section 4. No more handouts. Ending aid dependence and taking responsibility. Here's another one of Trump's big points. He's not a fan of foreign aid. He thinks it breeds dependency, makes Africa reliant on handouts instead of standing on its own 2 feet. And you know what? There's some truth to that. We've become so used to receiving aid that we haven't fully explored our own potential. We've got brilliant minds, hardworking people, but sometimes it feels like we're waiting for someone else to come and fix our problems. Now, I'm not saying we should completely cut off aid. There are situations where it's absolutely necessary, like during natural disasters or humanitarian crises. But maybe, just maybe, it's time to start thinking about a different approach. Maybe we need to focus on sustainable solutions, on empowering local communities, on creating an environment where aid is no longer a necessity but a supplement. It's a tough conversation, but one that we need to have. Section 5. A harsh truth or misguided rhetoric unpacking Trump's words. So there you have it, Trump's message to Africa in a nutshell. Was it a much-needed wake-up call or just another example of his blunt, often insensitive rhetoric? Honestly, it's probably a bit of both. There's no denying that some of his points were valid. We do need to address corruption, we do need to become more self-reliant, and we do need to take responsibility for our own destiny. But it's also important to remember that Africa's story is complex. We've faced challenges that other countries haven't, and it's not fair to compare our journey to theirs without acknowledging that context. So, what's the takeaway? I think it's this: let's take Trump's words with a grain of salt, but let's also use them as an opportunity for introspection. Let's have those tough conversations, let's hold our leaders accountable, and let's work together to build a better future for Africa. We've got the potential, it's time to unleash it.